And Auntie Sharon is going to tell us about the show that I've never heard of and whose title I've already forgotten about. Sharon, please take it away.
It's called Keep Breathing. It's a six-part limited series. I think it's only like a one series drama. It's about a young woman who is a corporate lawyer in New York City who's had a quite traumatic childhood, and her father has recently died. And in his possession, she found a series of postcards that her mother, who had abandoned her at a very young age, had sent over the years. And the last one that came from her mother was in a place in sort of a very remote sort of Canada, sort of like Canadian rainforest area type of Canada. And so she decides that she can't really move on with her life until she's actually found out a bit more about where her mum is now. So she decides she's going to head off to middle of nowhere Canada. And when we first meet her, she's in this very tiny, tiny little airport trying to get, and she finds that her flight has been cancelled. And because she is a almost like stereotypical New York lawyer, she's very focused. And she says, I'll pay anything if you can take me to this airport. And they say no. So then she happens to see that there are two men with a small sort of Cessna airplane who are flying in their direction. And she says, well, I'll pay you wadges of cash if you will take me where I want to go. And they say, okay. And so the three of them then set off flying into this sort of remotest, darkest, deepest Canada. And something goes horribly wrong and the plane crashes.
Oh.
And the next 5 episodes are basically you see her trying to survive, drawing on her knowledge from when she was a Girl Scout many, many years ago, or as a brownie, as we would call it over here, and trying to sort of reconcile herself. Each episode, she almost like that she faces the challenges of survival, but then she also faces the challenges where she's trying to work through her previous trauma in her life. So you see, as the episodes go by, dealing with her mother and her mother's departure, and then her father's sort of death, basically, and then her work, her life at work, her life with her partner, all these things. Basically, as she's trying to work out how to survive, she's processing all this past trauma, and so it's not just a physical journey where she tries to make her way across this unforgiving forest. But it's a sort of emotional journey as well, where she sort of tries to reconcile herself to the past. And so you see her going through all sorts of hideous ordeals, basically, over the course of these episodes.
A bit like Man Hancock in the jungle.
Yes.
A bit like Matt Hancock and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. But okay.
I don't watch I'm a Celebrity, so those references are a bit lost on me, I'm afraid.
Okay, no, okay. Sorry, Holly. You're gonna.
I was going to say, I think that's probably wise.
Yes.
I'm probably in that small minority of people who've never seen an episode of it.
I haven't either.
Oh, good. We are
What's this?
kindred spirits.
Sorry, what was that? We were talking about Lost or something?
No,
I've never seen I'm a Celebrity.
Oh, I'm a Celebrity. Oh, no, I haven't seen I'm a Celebrity. But and I haven't even seen Lost. I mean, that Lost thing, I watched one episode and I've never seen another since, and yet people tell me it's absolutely brilliant.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've spoken about. Okay, we'll get back to talking about Keep Breathing in a second.
Oh yeah,
but,
sorry.
Yeah, but that is but I think we might have mentioned our Lost experiences on the show, and I remember, Sean, I was a bit like you. I think I watched 3 episodes of Lost, and I was like, wait a second, this is an American show. No, I was like, first of all, I was like, this is an American show, and all they care about in America is keeping this show going as long as possible. And I watched Lost, and I was like, this show relies on you not knowing what's going on and wondering what's happening next. Then I put those 2 things together and went, they're never going to tell you what's actually going on. They're just going to string you along and I watched 3 episodes and stopped watching. And I said, I'm only going to watch Lost after it's definitely over and see what. But the way people have reacted to the ending of Lost has made me think, forget it, I'm not watching that show. because
I did persevere and watch all of it.
My brother feels like he wasted 5 years of his life watching that show.
Yeah, I think they didn't seem to know how it was going to end when they started writing it.
No,
they had that feeling that they just were making it up as they went along, which is not good storytelling.
they have admitted that that's what they were doing, because I was right that because it's American, all they cared about was keeping it on the air, and so they just kept doing stuff to keep it on the air, and they just kept getting renewed, but they didn't really actually have a plan. And so that's why I just thought no. Okay, but anyway, keep breathing, because when you started describing this, I was like, oh, this sounds like a template, you know. New York woman, usually lawyer, ends up in some wilderness place and finds love, like Men in Trees or Virgin River, or there was some show that you were watching. That was it, Virgin River, that has pretty much.
I saw Virgin River, where she flees the big city to go to small town life, and she finds the equivalent of like a lumberjack, but he was not. But you know, you get the feeling, you know, that he's like a bit more earthy and.
He's an outdoorsy type.
But this is nothing like that. This is literally about one woman's survival, psychologically and physically.
So I was already preparing all my eye rolls. I was preparing my eye rolls. I was preparing all my cliches, and then you said the plane crashes, and I was like, what? Okay, it's like you have my attention.
Yeah,
it's
not a spoiler to say that she's the only survivor.
Oh,
and as she survived, she then finds out stuff about the two people who were on the plane with her. And so it's about. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was okay. I mean, I don't think it's as good as they think it is with all the psychological stuff. Because part of me was getting a bit like, really, I'm not really that in. She wasn't that nice a character for me to be that interested in her backstory. But I was interested into how they were going to navigate it, because part of the thing about learning to survive is, you know, we know that. The human bodies are quite fragile, that you do need to feed them. You need to fuel and you need water, and that you can probably, and it all depends on how many sort of your natural stores. So because she was a very slim, petite woman, you see her only eating probably like sort of 200 or 300 calories a day for like a couple of weeks almost. I'm thinking, could someone who's very petite start off with, who doesn't seem to have an ounce of fat on her? You're thinking, how long would it be before you become too weak that you could not function? And she seemed to be surviving on berries and water. And I'm thinking, really, how could you do what she was doing? Because I was thinking, how quickly would you get quite weak, so weak that you could not physically survive?
You see that, Sean, these are special wilderness berries. These weren't your Sainsbury's berries.
No. So part of me was thinking, I was watching it, and when she was at one point she was marking off the days, and I was trying to work out how many calories she'd eaten by that point, thinking this is like 4 days, and I would estimate that you've probably only eaten about 400 or 500 calories in total. I'm thinking, how weak would you be at that point that you'd start to be hallucinating, or you'd start having issues. So then they start doing these sort of quite physical feats, I'm thinking, I don't know that you'd be up to doing that, even in that. I think in that short bit of time, I think in 3 or 4 days, if you were only drinking a small amount and you're only eating minimal amounts, I think you'd probably get very weak and very disorientated quite quickly.
I think this is Sharon. This is your version of Sean crossing his legs and huffing and puffing and going, hang on a second, this doesn't make any sense. Wait, what do you? What? You're all supposed to be assassins. Why do you all stand in the middle of the road pointing outward so Batman can just come in and kick you all?
So there were elements of that in it. I was thinking, could you really do that? Part of me was thinking, okay, but I don't think when this sort of drama, if it's about survival, I don't think you should have to suspend disbelief that much.
Yeah,
I think there should be some things. Anyway, so I thought it was okay. I enjoyed it. I got a bit tired of her, and I got a bit tired of some of the side, when they sort of veer off into her memories, or they veer off into her. You're not quite sure what's real and what she's imagining and what's actually there. So part of me got a bit tired of that. So, but it was okay. But I think it was no more than a 3. I mean, I didn't sort of dislike it enough to make it a 2, but I would not certainly go any higher than a straightforward 3.